right at it.
Hear the hunger in my voice, they used to tell me to speak up. The problem was of what I was saying, they couldn't keep up. Instead of moving around with some patience, they tried to speed up. It got colder than a bitter bitch, found me a way to heat up. What's a favor for a favor if we all didn't make it? Kept it 100 with everybody, but they just gon' change. I ain't get caught up in the hype, cause I ain't feel like I made it. Couldn't picture me here now, but here's your moment to frame it. And I ain't never understand that self-entitlement spirit. I felt your vibe, I don't wanna get near it. Before I made the appearance, I took a second, took a look in the mirror. This God, Lord, the only thing that I fear. Y'all got me fucked up. It's all passion, it's tradition, it ain't fashion. It's no action, they make threats and it's still passing. I think massive, no respond, that's still tact. Y'all should quit rapping. Cheap shots, I'm cinematic. I ain't average, I'm an overthrow fanatic. How I go, you lose and win like asthmatics. I got first, that's automatic. I'm the best in my division. In the ghetto like the pigeons, in the hood like the engine. You a bird for that chicken. I don't fake split decisions cause my mind made up, nigga. We in the end of time, but my time ain't up. Now when I was young and running wild and wide-eyed like a cabbage patch, I had to get it as vivid, adapted to my habitat. It's certain shit I won't do, certain shit you can't prove. My shit sound like a payday, yours like more when the rent. If I had $1 for every dime you counted, I would be broke. Watch it be close, got a better chance, boxing the ghost. And they know I'm raw, and they know the squad, and I'm feeling large, still in charge. I don't make it follow, I follow the law. Standing tall like they hear on Mars. I just got a call from my bro, he behind the wall, he told me let it off. Niggas lying for some cat, I got a different line in me. Everybody intimidated, I got that God in me. You can focus on them dimes, I'd rather keep my nine with me. Help me get this off the ground, just know you won't fly with me now.
Nigga, I try to make the news. I ain't playing by the rules. I've been trying to play it cool, but that ain't gon' be the deal. Y'all out here looking like fool. Home with the truth, I ain't never had to choose.
I'm trying to get beamed up, man, y'all trying to make the news. I ain't playing by the rules. I've been trying to play it cool, but that ain't gon' pay the bill. Y'all out here looking like fool. Home of the truth, y'all ain't never had to choose. Trying to get beamed up, man, y'all trying to make the news. I ain't playing by the rules. I've been trying to play it cool, but that ain't gon' pay the bill. Y'all out here looking like fool. Home of the truth, y'all ain't never had to choose. Trying to get beamed up.
Hey, Shalom, Yahweh Bashim Shabrakatham to all the brothers, Yahweh Shemalathan, Bashim Yahweh to all the sisters. I'm Priest and Officer 500 Barak Yala with the I.S.U.P.K, which stands for the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge, started at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General YAHANNA. In the stance since 1969, I've been teaching our people that they're the real biblical Jews of antiquity, according to scriptures, right? Not the people over there oppressing the Palestinians, but the people who are the descendants of the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, the descendants of the people who were enslaved in the Americas, as well as the Caribbean islands, are the real biblical Jews of antiquity. And tonight we have, again, our Monday history class. You understand? Where we're going to see that oppressor is the goddamn devil the Bible speaks of. It is an evil, wicked bastard. But that's nothing new, right? Everyone tuning in. Shalom, Yabashwakta, Jermaine Jones. We're live on I.S.U.P.K Canada on Facebook, I.S.U.P.K Toronto, and Montreal on YouTube as well. And TikTok, right? So the topic is going to be a brief class. But the topic is, we're going to address the National Day in Canada, the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, which I'm going to break down. I'm going to give you a few scriptures about that as well. But anyone who has any comments, questions, put them in the chat with us on YouTube, or Facebook, or TikTok. Whatever it is, comment, question, trolling will be ignored, right? So, for the people who don't know, right, today is, in Canada at least, is the day of truth and reconciliation, where the government of Canada is, quote unquote, apologizing for its role and for the atrocities that occurred during the time that the so-called residential schools were open, which we'll see what it is as well, right? The residential schools are damn near like concentration camps. They're open for children of so-called indigenous descent in the U.S. and especially in Canada as well. And we're going to show you how much an evil, hypocritical, bastard oppressor is, because they never recognized or officially apologized. Even if they officially apologize, that's still hypocritical to a certain extent, because really the so-called Native American are still on reservations today. But they quote unquote apologized and made it a national day as of last year only, when it was never a secret that residential schools were open throughout Canada and the US. It was never a secret, but just like slavery in Canada, it is taboo to talk about anything or any wrongdoings that Canada ever did. Contrary to the US, that is actually proud of their wrongdoings because that's how they built America, Canada is not so proud of it because they have a reputation of being, the so-called Switzerland of the Americas, where everybody's accepted, everybody wants to move to Canada. Well, Canadian history is as dark as the US. Literally. Ain't no different. The devils you see in America with Confederate flags, they are the same devil that you see up north, pouring maple syrup on their waffles or toast or whatever the case is. Literally. Right? But let's get into the history of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. You understand? Give me 1 second. Let me share my screen. For those on TikTok who want to see the screen I'm sharing, go to a YouTube I.S.U.P.K Toronto and Montreal, or Facebook I.S.U.P.K Canada or Montreal, right? And if you put comments in the chat, and I'm not addressing them right away, be patient. And if you don't want to be patient, Lord be with you. So the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, right, originally and still colloquially known as Orange Shirt Day, is a Canadian day of memorial to recognize the atrocities and generational impact caused by the Canadian Indian residential school system, which we will see what it is. We'll get into that as well, right? Which is, long story short, so we could continue the article, is basically like concentration camps that was open, or boarding schools that was open for Indigenous people throughout Canada, right? As you can see right here, it says as of March 2023. So it's barely been a year that it was officially a statutory holiday for federal government's employee and private sector's employee throughout Canada, whatever the case is, right? So the Orange Shirt Day was first established as a day of observance in 2013, but it was not really recognized till 10 years later, right? As part of an effort to promote awareness and education of the residential school system and the impact it has had on Indigenous communities for over a century. Now, they only want to speak about the impact that the residential schools have had on the Indigenous people, but they're not speaking about the genocide they committed. They're not speaking about all the atrocities, which obviously would include the residential school system, but they're not speaking about slavery, right? Because for those who don't know, the chattel slavery didn't start with so-called Negroes. Chattel slavery started by enslaving the natives. It started by enslaving the Taino Indians in Puerto Rico, and France had most of the dominion of Canada at some point before it became a country under British rule, right? And the French, in 2/3 of the slaves in Canada were actually natives, but they're not going to talk about that. Again, in Canada, it is taboo to speak about the past of Canada. Why? Because unlike the US, they're not as proud of their past, where they speak about it openly. The US is proud of slavery. Trump is saying, make America great again. Who is saying make Canada great again? When was Canada ever great in the first place? But there's no such slogan as making Canada great again, because now we have to dig up what made Canada so great in the first place. You understand? Let's keep reading. So the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, established to document the impact of the residential school system, concluded that the attempt to forcefully assimilate Indigenous communities was a cultural genocide. Listen, even before the residential school system, a cultural genocide was already being committed on the indigenous community. Ever since Christopher Columbus set sail, it was already a plan to commit a genocide on these people. Whether it was the Carib, the Arawak, the Cree, the Navajo nation, every single indigenous nation, right? A genocide was committed against them. And not just culturally, physically as well. That's why they were damn near decimated using smallpox, using violence. As a matter of fact, they didn't just use smallpox and violence. You understand? But basically, they're saying only the residential schools, right, they concluded was an attempt to forcefully assimilate indigenous communities. When it comes down to it, I'll press the goddamn devil the Bible speaks of. And that the only reason it happens because, yes, we are cursed and disobey the Most High, but these people are liars. Not anywhere are they stating the fact that they enslaved these nations even before implementing the residential school systems, right? The use of an orange shirt was inspired by the accounts of Phyllis Jack Webstad. You understand? Whose personal clothing, including a new orange shirt, was taken from her during her first day of residential schooling and never returned. This is why you wear the orange shirt today, or why it's called orange shirt, because Phyllis Jack Webstad, right, who is from the First Nation, who is from one of the First Nations tribe, her shirt was taken away from her when she enrolled into one of these residential schools. The orange shirt is thus used as a symbol of the forced assimilation of indigenous children that the residential school system enforced. The day was elevated to a statutory holiday for federal workers and workers in federally regulated workplaces by the Parliament of Canada in 2021 and named National Day for Truth and Reconciliation in the light of the claims of over 1,000 unmarked graves near former residential school sites. Here's the issue, right? This was never a secret, ever. You understand? Only a couple years ago, it started coming to light on a worldwide level where, oh, come to find out, they're burying kids on school grounds. It's always been going on. And that's only the kids whose body they buried. They're not talking about the kids they left in the wilderness to be eaten by wolves and bears. They're only talking about the bodies they found. You understand? That's the only thing they're talking about. Of course, I'm not going to talk about the bodies that they can't, where they can't produce proof, or to make it even worse. We're talking about only the bodies that they dug up. And guess who's doing that? The Most High is making sure that everything is coming to light. You understand? That's the Most High who's doing it. Why? Because so-called Native American Indians are part of the 12th tribe, will be the tribe of God, and the Most High is not letting anything being swept under the rug anymore. And that's prophesied in the Bible as everything that's going on throughout the face of the earth right now. You understand? Matter of fact, let's get that precept real quick, and then we'll get back to the residential schools to give you a background of what the residential school system is. Let's go to 2nd Ezra in the Apocrypha, chapter 15, verse 8. And real quick, I'm going to address a few comments on the TikTok. If anyone has any questions as well on YouTube and Facebook, just put it in the chat. Someone said, wasn't Columbus Jewish? He was. Just because they preach Yahusha doesn't exist. So no one has any real questions or comments. No sweat. The devil is watching. We know the devil is watching because the white man is watching, and the white man is the devil and Lucifer. Anyone has any more questions or comments, put them in the chat. Let's get back to it. Now, 2nd Ezra chapter 15, verse 8 says what? I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness. Listen, the Most High is not going to let anything being swept under the rug anymore. You understand? Ever. I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, which they profanely commit, neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. You understand? The days of our oppressor being able to put a hand on us without anyone ever addressing, without anyone knowing about it, whether it's the lynching that is still happening today in 2024 down south in Mississippi, to the bodies that they keep finding throughout Canada, right? Nothing can be swept under the rug. It will be brought to light. It will never be left in darkness ever again. You understand? Behold, the innocent and righteous blood cried unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually. Who is it talking about? Who was those innocent and righteous people whose blood is crying unto the Most High? It's the 12 tribes of Israel. It's those bodies that they keep digging up. It's every single so-called men, women, children of every single so-called Native American tribe. Those so-called Latinos, those Brazilians in the favelas, those Haitians, you understand, being denied entry in the US and Canada. Those Jamaicans being deported, being the #1 people deported in Canada. This is the innocent and righteous blood that's crying right now. Yes, the 12 tribes of Israel, so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians. This is who's crying right now. You know how many, they're saying basically that more than 150,000 children were taken into these residential schools. And all of them, damn near 90 to 99% of them were abducted from their household in the first place. They were never willingly given away by their parents or their uncle whatsoever. If they were not forcefully taken away, they were the Canadian government, right, under the Roman Catholic Church, was coercing families into giving away their children. You understand? It was damn near either, if they were not taking them away, they were forcing them to give away the children by how? By threatening them with jail. Now, if the parent or the responsible adult goes to jail, who's there to watch the children? And as per the government, if no one watches the children, the children becomes the responsibility of the government in place, who was the Canadian government under the Roman Catholic Church, who were operating those residential schools. So one way or another, they were taking those children away from their families. And this is the innocent whose blood is crying unto the Most High. Let's keep reading. And the souls of the just complain continually. Up till this day, if I go right now downtown in my city, Native American Indians are living under bridges, not even in homeless shelters. Matter of fact, there was a homeless shelter which was predominantly inhabited by so-called Native Americans, my city, right? Slovakia. And that homeless shelter was in the middle of Chinatown. Well, the Chinese people requested the homeless shelter to be closed down because they were tired of seeing natives around their neighborhood. And guess what the city did? They closed down the homeless shelter because nobody gives a damn about so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians. Everybody gives a damn about Palestinians. People still pray for Palestine today. They pray for Lebanon. They pray for Yemen. When has anyone prayed for so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians, who are the most despised people on the face of the earth, who are the people that never get any type of rest whatsoever from whosoever? You understand? And to think that, we'll get back to the article, right? To think that once we have, Black History Month, we have Juneteenth, we have Hispanic Heritage Month, we have, as today, the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Reconciliation for what? How did the Canadian government reconciled with the indigenous communities for stealing their land, for slaughtering them, for raping them? You understand? For putting them in residential schools. How did the Canadian government, the Roman Catholic Church, the Pope came 2 years ago to Canada and was welcomed by the Native communities. How did he reconcile? He didn't. And they will never do. Not willingly, at least. You understand? And this is biblical as well. We're looking at them like we should expect something from them when we shouldn't. We'll get one more precept and then we'll get back to the article, right? We're looking at them like, you know what? Well, the government acknowledges one day out of the year. And I think sometime next month, literally in the next, 2-3 weeks, right? Or probably in November, there's gonna be another day for so-called indigenous people, right? Right before Thanksgiving in Canada. They have the audacity to put a day for the natives before Thanksgiving, which is insane. You understand? Which is absolutely insane, because Thanksgiving is the, celebration of the genocide they committed against the natives. So I'm gonna answer to one question in the chat on TikTok, and then I'm gonna get the precept. Sandy Montreal said, "You're from Benjamin. I am an Israelite of the tribe of Benjamin," if that's what you're asking, right? Let's get it. Lamentations chapter 4, verse 17. It says, "As for us," it's talking to the Israelites, right? "As for us, our eyes as yet failed for our vain help. In our watching, we've watched for a nation that cannot save us." What is one day going to do for us? They had to acknowledge the day more than 10 years later. So, but what is this day doing for us? Bringing awareness to what? Listen, it's not a coincidence if you go on TikTok for the past couple, 3 to 4 days, you see some stuff about Native American Indians. They playing with the algorithm just to quote unquote make you aware. Well, why are we not, bringing awareness every single day in Canada and the US when it comes to the Native genocide, when it comes to residential schools, when literally Canada and the US were built off of a genocide? So why are we not bringing awareness every single day? Why wait a specific day? You understand? As if they're going to acknowledge us. If they acknowledge a time for truth and reconciliation, besides bringing awareness every day, why not give the land back? You understand? We're watching for a nation, really, they don't give a damn about us. We think we're expecting something from them that we will never get. A sincere apology, the land back, reparations, reconciliation, truth. Oh, oppressed is the goddamn devil the Bible speaks of. Devil meaning what? He's a deceiver. He's a liar. There's no truth in him. It's not like they don't know how they built Canada. It's not like they don't know how they built America. They know. The Americans are just proudly saying that, yeah, you know what? We came to fight you. You lost. So be it. The Americans will say that. Canadians are trying to, Canadians like to go in circle. They don't want to be fully truthful about it. If you ain't fully truthful, you're just a liar. Because if it's not the full truth, there's a lie somewhere. You understand? But these people watching for a nation that cannot save them, that's us. Blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians. And no one else. The National Day of Truth and Reconciliation is as much of a farce as Juneteenth. It's as much of a farce as Black History Month. We worked this land for what, 400 years, and we get 1 month out of the year, which is the coldest and shortest month out of the year, for 400 years of servitude, of blood, sweat, and tears. You understand? There's the Trail of Tears. Natives have, listen, we all went through the same thing, but to get one day to be recognized and to bring awareness to what happened to your people out of 365 days of the year, for 400 years of blood, sweat, and tears, a flood of blood, sweat, and tears spilled from your people. This is what we get. The natives are still begging for clean water in the reservations in Canada. The Prime Minister said, right, I know I'm a bit long-winded. I'm gonna get back to the article right now. The Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in 2017 said if he was elected prime minister in Canada, he would provide clean water. Guess what? It's 2024, 7 years later. Not one drop of clean water have been brought to the natives. You know what they did though? The Canadian government, there's a form that if your reservation was affected, there's a form that you could fill to get $100 or just a little over $100 check to your name if you're ever affected by dirty water on the reservation. Here's a trick though. Not only is there a deadline for you to fill up the form and submit it for you to get that just over $100 check of reparations, let's call it that because that's what they deem to be reparations, I guess. But also, if you already received a check once, you can't get it again, even though you may still be affected later on down the line by the dirty water on the reservation. That's the devil the Bible speaks of. Regardless of what he tells you, he doesn't give a damn. You know. Give me 1 second. Let me get this last precept and then we'll get back to the article. I know. Right. This is Psalm chapter 55, verse 21, where it says, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter. He's saying this is the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. Justin Trudeau said, if I'm elected, I'm going to bring y'all clean water. We apologize for what happened during the residential schools. Here's a day, and we'll give you another day next month, right before we celebrate committing genocide on your people. That's literally what they're doing. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter. Let's campaign for the land back, right? It sounds good. It sounds smoother than butter. It flows so good. Like, listen, it's beautiful. It's a good idea, right? But war was in his heart. Whether it's all the treaties they said they did, but they didn't respect. Whether it's Justin Trudeau saying he will provide clean water, but still 7 years later would never do, while he's spending billions of dollars on Ukraine and the state of Israel and on Palestinians and on Afghanis. And listen, they don't give a damn about your people. This is further proof that we are the real biblical Jews of antiquity. Because as per Zephaniah 2:1 said, that nation not desired is talking about so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans. No other nation is as despised as we are. Nobody gives a damn about us. Keep reading. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. This is our oppressor. Whenever he talks, don't listen to him. Don't ever listen to the oppressor. The oppressor, one thing you know is that he's the goddamn devil the Bible speaks of. And he's a liar. There is no truth in him. He'll tell you something, it sounds good, but you know he will deceive you at one point at a time. You understand? The Bible says, never trust thine enemy, for as iron rusted, so is his wickedness. Eventually, they will show their true colors. Right. Let's go back to the article. And so we're going to share another article as well. All right. But let's get into the background of the Indian residential school system. Right. So here it says, shortly after Confederation in 1867, the ministers in the new cabinet of Canada inherited the responsibility of advising the Crown on the treaty signed between it and the First Nations of Canada. Mind you that they don't respect no treaties, not one. Prime Minister John A. Macdonald was faced with a country with disparate cultures and identities and wanted to forge a new Canadian identity to unite the country and ensure its survival. You see, again, it sounds good. Let's unite the country and ensure its survival. Well, guess what? They didn't need to ensure the survival of nobody until they started committing a genocide. Right? Again, what did we just read in Psalms 55 and 21? The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. It sounds good to unite the country and their new Canadian identity. Why provide a new identity to a people who already have an identity? Why are you trying to ensure the survival of a people who were living? Their survival was not to be ensured if they were already living. You understand? They started dying soon as the damn goddamn oppressors set foot in on the American continent. Keep reading. Da, da, da. It was MacDonald's goal to absorb the First Nations in the general population of Canada and extinguish their culture. Exactly what we just read. To unite the country and ensure survival, he said, to absorb the First Nation and general population of Canada and extinguish their culture. Meaning what? That's integration right there. What is integration? It's just another word for assimilation. Really. You understand? That's integration right there. The same thing that Martin Luther King have us march for. Integration. In 1878, he commissioned Nicholas Flood Davin to write a report about residential schools in the U.S., in the United States. 1 year later, Davin reported that only residential schools could separate Aboriginal children from their parents and culture and cause them to be merged and lost within the nation. And Davin argued that the government should work with the Christian church to open these schools. Mind you, that's in 1878, but we're going to show you an article that residential schools were open as early as the 1600s. So during slavery, we already had schools specifically for indigenous children, for the natives. Again, our oppressor is a goddamn devil and liar, because he would say the residential schools were open from what? The late 1800s up until 1996. Right up until 1996. This is when the last residential school in Canada officially closed. Right? So, I was 4 years old. No, Salakia. I was 2 years old when the last residential school officially closed in Canada. Not that it was still not running. Again, officially on paper. That doesn't mean that it officially closed and locked their doors and threw the key away. That's not what it means. It means they let you know we're closing, but you understand that it could still be operating. Just like when slavery was abolished, on paper, but it was still going on unofficially. You understand? Let's see if we have a bit more. So beginning in 1883, and again, when it says they wanted to work with the Christian church, it was all commissioned by the Roman Catholic Church, and it's different denominations. So you see right here, beginning in 1883, the government began funding Indian residential schools across Canada, which were run primarily by the Roman Catholic Church. Again, the church is the house of Satan. If the church is doing so good, whether it's the Roman, the Anglican, the Catholic, the Christian church, listen, the Christian church have blood on its hands. The Roman Catholic Church has blood. The Baptist, every single denomination of the church, they all have the blood of the innocent Native American Indian children on their hands. The Roman Catholic Church ran the residential schools throughout Canada and the US. And y'all want to make it seem like we need to go to church because the church is the solution to save people. Listen, the church molested all these children. The church put Native American children on electric chairs because they peed their bed at night. Church, the goddamn house of Satan. The church will never save our people. The church is the reason why our people is so destroyed today. Let's get back to the article. Beginning in 1883, the government began funding Indian residential schools across Canada, which were run primarily by the Roman Catholic Church and the Anglican Church, but also included the United Church of Canada, the Methodist Church, and the Presbyterian Church. So it's all the same. For those who ask, well, it was a different church, it never said Christian. They're all branches stemming from the Roman Catholic Church. When the separation of children from their parents was resisted, the government responded by making school attendance compulsory in 1894 and empowered by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the RCMP, which is damn near the FBI version of Canada, to seize children from reserves and bring them to the residential schools. So not only if you were saying, no, I don't want my child to go there, literally they were taking your child over there. It was they made it a legal amendment to take children away from their parents, to force them to be assimilated in the residential schools. You understand? And really what they were doing is they were molesting all the children over there. And we're going to see that the nutrition chart that you have today, which tells you, 1 apple a day keeps a doctor away, drink certain amount of water per day, have certain amount of supplements or vitamins that you need throughout the day. They came up with that in the 1940s by experimenting on Native American children in those residential schools. You understand? And no one had a choice. So now they're telling you right there that about in 1894, they made it a legal amendment for the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, to snatch these children from reservations. Literally snatch them. It says seize them, which is another word. Listen, to seize them, to kidnap them, to snatch them, it's all the same. Tomato, tomato. They were seizing the children from the reservations and bringing them to residential schools. And only atrocities were happening to these children, from being put in electric chairs for peeing their bed, to being molested by not only the men, but also the women over there, to dying in the cold, to being underfed for quote unquote experimental purposes. This is the reason why they seize the children. Why? Because even the Bible said it. You understand? As per one of the curses that would befall upon the nation of Israel, right? A fierce nation would come against us that would not regard the old nor the young. Let me get that real quick. Before I read the precept, I'm going to answer this question. Bashir said, what is that star of Satan? Is not David. David has no star. This is not a star. This is the shield of King David. This is his signature. Just like in the Middle Ages, when a king had a let me stop sharing real quick. When a king had a official document that he needed to sign, he had a ring with the shape of his signature, and he would pour candle wax on the document and stamp that document with his signature on his ring. Understand? So this is not a star. This is the signature of King David. If you don't know Hebrew, just say that, because the shape of the triangle pointing upwards is the character Da, which is the first character of David in the Hebrew, which is Dawada. And the triangle pointing downwards is another Da that's just inverted, one over the other. And this is how it shows his signature to be. You understand? So this is not a star. A star is literally a ball of gas or a metaphor for someone of a high stature. Diddy is a star. Donald Trump is a star. Someone famous, someone of renown. But this is the signature of King David. That's it. Now let's get back. Let me get Deuteronomy 28 and 49. Let me show you that this nation that came against us really is a merciless nation. You understand? Let's go into Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. Listen, the Most High brought a nation against us from far. The Most High, when these devils came over here, they didn't come from right next door. They had to sail across the sea. You understand? From the end of the earth doesn't, listen, it doesn't literally mean from the end of the earth. It just means from far. The Bible speaks in slang. You understand? This is how you know this is a black man's book and not a white man's book. You understand? It's like, I thought I was sharing my screen. There you go. You understand? And this is one of the curses that would befall upon the nation of Israel, which includes also so-called Native American Indians, who are the tribe of Gad. right? A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. We did not understand our slave master when he came over here. Shit, we didn't even understand the slave master when the Africans sold us to him. Go to verse 50. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. All these atrocities that fell upon the Native American Indians during those residential schools, they did not care that they were putting little five-year-old children in electric chairs for peeing their bed. It's normal. Guess what? Newsflash. It's normal for a kid to pee their bed. They did not give a damn. They literally put Native children on electric chairs for peeing their bed in the residential schools in Canada. And guess what? I'm going to share the other article where it shows that the last residential school remained open until 1996. I didn't start in 1996. You understand? And this is the people that we're told to love. This is the people that, our people trying to argue with us about a boot kiss because these people willingly ask for mercy and apologize by kissing our boots. And y'all are wicked Negroes fight for the love of the oppressor that put children in electric chairs for peeing their bed, that willingly starve children so today you could have a nutrition chart. That's the people you want to love. That's the people that we're told that we need to love them because God so loved everybody, right? These people that were molesting the children in residential schools, you say God loved them too? Is that what you're saying? This is literally what you're saying when you're saying God loves everybody, which we broke down last Thursday that he really don't. You understand? But give me one second. Let me get Deuteronomy 28 and There you go. 28 and 41, which we just read. The RCMP in 1894, they made it legal for the RCMP to come snatch those children. Up till this day, it still happens. But not just the children. Men, women, children are still being snatched, seized, carried away from reservation for whatever reason. There's no residential schools open today, but they're still snatching them. They're killing them, and they're burying their bodies. Sometimes you find bodies. Listen, at this point, you don't even find the bodies, and people are still protesting for that today. Let's look for the bodies of our loved ones, right? That are literally murdered. They didn't die in the woods, killed by a bear or a wolf. No accident happened to them. The police, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the RCMP, the government is literally snatching, kidnapping people from reservations and killing them. And they won't look for the bodies. No Amber Alert whatsoever. Let a little white girl, any woman of Caucasian complexion disappear, and damn, they're ready to burn down the whole Canada. Look under every single rock. Deuteronomy 28 verse 41. Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. That's residential schools right there. You understand? And for Nathan Crawford said, this man just lying his ass off. Listen, this is not me lying. You could look this up. This is public information. This is why today is the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. Part of the truth, understand, like I was saying earlier during the class, the U.S. is not denying their history. The dark history of Canada is taboo. Look at what Nathan is saying in the TikTok, that I'm just lying. This is the truth that they cannot hide anymore. They cannot sweep that under the rug. They dug up thousands and thousands of bodies of children throughout Canada in the residential schools. Come to find out, they were burying all these children over there. You understand? They found electric chairs in this residential. Why do you have electric chairs for children? This is not a place of execution. I'm not saying it was a good place. It was really bad. But what am I lying about? It was a law. that the government of Canada put in place in 1894. Let me get it again. Right there. It says when the separation of children from their parents was resisted, meaning the parents were saying, no, you're not taking my kids away. They're not going to those residential schools. The government, who's today is run by Justin Trudeau, who, responded by making school attendance compulsory. What's the compulsory means? Do I have to Google the definition? Let's go to the definition of compulsory, yeah? Let me zoom in the definition of compulsory. Let's see if I'm lying or if the devil on the TikTok is lying. Compulsory, from the Oxford language, meaning required by law or a rule. Obligatory. Listen, it was obligated for them, right, to have the children attend these residential schools. Just like the real said on the TikTok, compulsory means required. So how am I lying? They made it a law in 1894 and empowered. What does empowering means? It means to give power. They empowered the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, which still operates till this day. It's the RCMP, to seize children, to forcefully take, to kidnap, to snatch children from reserves and bring them to residential schools. You understand? Let's keep reading. When parents came to take their children away from the schools, the pass system was created. So not only they made it compulsory for the children to attend these schools, and they gave the power to the RCMP to snatch these kids and bring them to the schools. When the parents came to take away their children from the schools, they made a new system to prevent the parents from coming to take the children away. The pass system was created banning indigenous people from leaving their reserve without a pass from an Indian agent, meaning you were not allowed. Let me share the tab. Meaning what? Meaning you were not allowed to leave the reservation without a pass. You see how oppressor is a goddamn monster? Listen, I don't know, but for some people who went to certain schools, you see the hallway pass? When you needed a pass to walk throughout the hallways of the school, whether you needed to go to the bathroom, to your locker, whatever the case is, well, they had the same thing for Native people. They were not allowed to leave the reservation without the pass system, right, which is a system implemented that they needed a pass from an Indian agent to leave the reservation. Meaning what? If you refused to have your child go attend these residential schools, because you know what's going on over there, even if you don't know, you know they're gonna come back. What's the term? They coined the term. It's called "kill the savage, kill the Indian, save the man." Well, you knew that they were basically erasing the culture of your children. They're gonna come back, them, like a white boy with a bowl cut, or with a white man's haircut, with a suit and tie and everything, being the best Christian ever, right? So to prevent that from happening, for your kids to not lose their culture, you say, no, I don't want my kids to go there. So they made it a law that they need to attend these schools. Since 1894, they gave the power, again, to the police. You want to call them the police or whatever the case is, because it's literally what it is, law enforcement, to come and snatch your kids from the reservation so they attend these schools. Now, if you had the idea to say, you know what, I'm going to go to the school, take my child away and bring him back to the res, they implemented a new system to prevent you from doing that, which is the pass system. You understand? Our oppressor is a goddamn monster. He's the devil the Bible speaks of. Right? Let's keep reading, then we'll go to the other article. Conditions at the schools were rough as schools were underfunded and the infectious disease of tuberculosis was rampant. You're going to find out that a lot of these bodies that they were finding died of tuberculosis, but not all of them, but a lot. And that some bodies, a lot of the numbers, they're lying, because even though they're giving the numbers of the bodies, they're not giving the exact numbers. It's more than what they're given, but also this is only the bodies that they found buried. Again, as mentioned previously, they're not talking about the bodies that, especially in Canada and up north in the US, a lot of slaves, whether they were so-called natives or of Negro descent, they were left in the wilderness to be eaten by animals such as bears and wolves and cougars or whatever the case is. In winter, you die, so be it. They don't have to bury you. They could just mark you off the census like you never existed. You understand? Over the course of the system existence, more than a century long, approximately 150,000 children were placed in residential schools nationally. Mind you, they're only talking about Canada. We're not talking about what the US did. So that number already is, when I say approximately, it's more or less, it's really more. They're just sugarcoating it, but they're just speaking nationwide in Canada. They're not even mentioning the numbers in the US yet. So now the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada details deaths of approximately 3,200 children in residential schools, representing a 2.1% mortality rate. You know how that's a lie? Because they found more than 3,200 bodies buried at these residential schools. Again, the numbers they'll give you is a lie. Is really sugarcoating the issue, because now that they can't hide it no more, they have to make it seem like it's not as bad as, not that it's not as bad, but the truth is worse than what they're bringing out to light. And they know. That's why they're openly giving numbers. You understand? It's not a conspiracy. Just like they manipulate the numbers of the victim in Palestine or the state of Israel, what makes you think they can't do the same with the natives when they're the culprits? The government is the culprit. The church is the culprit. They can't, make it seem like the picture that's being painted of them is not bad. They just have to make sure that it's not the worst picture. They know it's gonna be bad. Or they know, because they can't hide it. They have to make up for it. How do they make up for it? Well, today is the truth. Today is the day, National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. That's how they made up for it. Next month is going to be Native Indian Awareness Month, Native American Indigenous Peoples Month. Right before Thanksgiving in Canada, and that's how they make you think they make up for it. They really don't care. They committed over a century of a genocide on the indigenous people. So for what? To give them a day to say, you know what? We recognize that we kill a lot of y'all. So be it. This is part of the history of Canada. They don't give a damn. Let's keep reading. However, Justice Murray St. Clair, the chair of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, later stated that they only included deaths of children they had records for, that the true number of deaths could be as high as 6,000. What did I just tell you? The numbers they're giving you is all sugar-coated information, because they're only going to give you the numbers of deaths of children they had on the records. Same for the slaves. It's not that they didn't keep the records, but listen, they bury you under the snow. You're a carcass that a bear is going to eat throughout winter. Right after winter, even the bones are gone. Might as well erase you off the census as if you never existed. And when I say they could be high as 6,000, well, guess what? They were higher than 6,000 bodies found throughout these residential schools. You understand? Again, our oppressor is the goddamn devil the Bible speaks of. Right? And this cat right here in the chat said that I.S.U.P.K is just a hate group. How are we a hate group when we're bringing out the truth? The government, according to these articles and this information that's being brought out, that's publicly available, the government of Canada is a hate group. The Roman Catholic Church, who was in charge of most of these residential schools, would be the hate group. How are we a hate group when we say, you know what? We need to bring awareness to what happened to the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Natives every single day. Not just today, not just a day out of the next month. So how is the ISUPK a hate group when we want to bring all the atrocities that happen to our people to light every single day? How are we a hate group? Make it make sense. You're part of the hate group, which is the society of your oppressor. You're part of the hate group that is the white man's world, which includes the Canadian government and the Roman Catholic Church that ran these residential schools. You understand? Jacob, Israel, Shalom, brother, Adolphus, Shalom as well, right? Let's get back into the article before we switch real quick for time's sake. We might have to do a part 2 next week. So let's see, right? Let's get right here. So in 1986, the United Church of Canada apologized for its role in the residential school system. Mind you, the last residential schools was open until 1996. And in 1986, meaning while they're still running, they're apologizing. For what? It's still going on. Native children are still being snatched from reservations. So what are you apologizing for? It's like committing a crime. You understand? Okay, when you go to rob someone, you already robbed them. You go back to them and say, you know what? I apologize for robbing you, while robbing from them even more. That's literally what the church is doing. You understand? In 1986, while the residential schools are still open, they say they're apologizing. Let's keep reading. The Anglican Church followed suit in 1992. Keep in mind, the residential schools were still open until 96. Some Catholic organizations have apologized for their role in the residential school system. And in 2009, Pope Benedict XVI expressed sorrow for the experiences of the residential school survivors, but the Roman Catholic Church itself had not formally apologized for its role in the residential school system. You understand? They don't give a damn. What we read in Psalm 50, let's get Psalms 55 again. It sounds good, an apology, yeah? I'm gonna show you right there the nature of our oppressor. Psalms 55, verse 21. You understand? The words of his mouth were smoother than butter. It's good. They're apologizing for the atrocities committed against the natives. Not even the atrocities, really just the residential school system. They're not even apologizing for the genocide that was committed in Canada, for the bloodshed that happened throughout Canada and the US and Central and South America. You think the Roman Catholic Church is not responsible for what happened to the indigenous people, the Aztecas, the Mayans, the Incas, you understand, throughout the so-called quote-unquote New World? They're only apologizing for the residential schools. So for our Gadite brothers and sisters, it sounds good. But guess what? The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. They really don't give a damn. It just sounds good. They have an ulterior motive, just like Trudeau, which what it says in the next, let's get as a matter of fact. In 2017, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau asked the Pope to issue an apology over his role in the Indian residential school system. Why do you think he asked it in 2017? Like I told you earlier, not only in 2017, as you can see right here, it says that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau asked the Pope to apologize, to issue an apology over his role in the Indian residential school system. But he also said that if he gets elected prime minister, which he was, he'll provide clean water to the reservations. 7 years later in 2024, he still didn't. So it sounds good. I'm going to give you clean water. I'll make the Pope apologize in the name of the Roman Catholic Church. For what? For a vote. And then what? Crickets. Nothing. No water. No land back. You can't, listen, you can't give back the these children's innocence that was taken away from them. You can't give it back to them. These children were taken away from their parents, were abused on a daily basis. And for those who don't know, you know what? We're going to do a part 2 for time's sake, right? We're going to do a part 2. We'll really get deep into the history of residential schools. Children were there. A lot of children were there on a year round. You see how you have summer vacations today at school? Some of them were not even allowed to go see their parents during summer vacation. They were prevented. They stayed on a residential school's ground. For what? Just to get abused on a daily basis. Just to get beat up, just to get molested, just to get starved for, again, experimental purposes. That's how you got the nutrition chart, which was developed in the 1940s by experimenting on native children. You understand? Being put on an electric chair for peeing your bed. And he just said, you know what? Apologize to them. Just say you're sorry. Just say you're sorry. That's it. That's what Trudeau said. Trudeau said, just say you're sorry so I could get the vote. Vote for me and I'm going to give you water. Instead, they gave you a form to fill out so you could get a $100 check. Only once. I don't know what's worse. The worst, is it worse that it's just a few hundred, barely $100 check that you get only once and there's a time limit for you to get the check? Our oppressor is the goddamn devil the Bible speaks of. You can't prove anyone otherwise. If you try to do so, it's because you love the white man. If you love the white man, so be it. I can't tie you to a tree to force you to not love your oppressor. But I could tell you, I could show you the reason why you should not, though. If you still want to do that, at the end of the day, you're a goddamn traitor. Yes, you're even worse than the devil itself. Because what makes you think that the devil will accept you knowing that you are a traitor to your own race? You see, this is what happens to our people. When we decide to follow after these goddamn oppressors, this is what happened to us. What makes us think that by betraying our own people, trying to be accepted in our enemy's society, the enemy is going to accept that in his society, knowing that we are traitors to our own people. Nobody could ever trust a traitor. Really, you're playing yourself. That's it. You're really playing yourself. You're hurting yourself even more than you're hurting your own people, because they will point it out to you. What makes you think we could trust you when you betrayed your own? We're your enemies. You understand? And this is really a sad thing. This is why our people need to stop loving these oppressors and start loving their own. Right? Let's get back to it. In 1991, the Royal Commission on Aboriginal Peoples was formed to investigate the relationship between Indigenous peoples in Canada, the government of Canada, and Canadian society as a whole. The relations, I mean, again, it's no secret. They committed a genocide. I don't know what's there to investigate. See, here's the issue. They keep making excuses after excuses after excuses. We didn't even get to the topic of those $5 Indians who pay literally $5 to get the status of natives when they were just devils. A lot of these so-called Indigenous people today are posing as Indigenous people when they're really Caucasian people. They're Caucasian people with, you know, a grandmother who was a Native American princess, or a great-great-grandmother who was a Native American princess. Really, that's really it. Devil nonetheless. Don't let the looks fool you, right? Let's go down a bit more. Prime Minister Stephen Harper apologized in 2008 on behalf of the federal cabinet for the Indian residential school system and created the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada to find out what happened at the schools. They make it seem like they don't know what happened. They knew exactly what happened. You know why? Because it was ran by not only the Roman Catholic Church, but the government of Canada. Everything was documented. There were laws put in place by the government who empowered the law enforcement, the RCMP, to snatch those children away. Making it seem like we need to find out what happened. They know what happened. Just like that sister Joyce Echaquan, if I'm not butchering her name too much, in Montreal, they let the sister die in the hospital. They let the sister die in the hospital. The nurse, who was a goddamn devil, was looking at her, mocking her, and calling her all type of racial slurs because she was Native. They let her die in the hospital bed. It's not like they need to investigate. They know what happened. They despise our guts. They slaughtered us. They enslaved us. You understand? They're oppressing us. It's not like it's a secret. Nothing has to be uncovered besides the bodies that are buried a few feet under these residential schools. They know what happened. They know what happens today. I go right now downtown Montreal in my city. Natives are living under bridges. Even in winter, they live in camping tents under bridges in downtown Montreal. They closed down the homeless shelter that was in Chinatown because the Chinese did not want to see these Gadites in their neighborhoods. Literally. There was no reason for them to close the homeless shelter besides that they didn't want to see these people around their people anymore. So what's there to find out? What's there to investigate? It's right in front of us. The oppressor is the goddamn devil the Bible speaks of. And that's really it. You understand? We're definitely running up on time. So we're going to make a part 2 of the class, right? Shout out to everyone who tuned in. You understand? If you want to be part of the school, click on the sign-in link and the sign-out link in the chat on the Facebook and on the YouTube channel. You understand? Do your 90 days, come into the school, change your life, and help these brothers and sisters who need your help. Right? Get right. Let's change our community, not by working with the government to get a day to bring awareness to what happened to our people. That day is not going to do anything for our people. As a matter of fact, let's get that precept real quick. Right? Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 7. Ecclesiastes chapter 7 verse 1. Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad, and a gift destroyeth the heart. That day, today, is a gift that destroyed the heart. The heart what? The spirit. The visit of the Pope. When did he come? Did he come last year? He came last year, 2 years ago, to Canada to say, you know what? I came to show support because of the atrocities that happened to the residential schools. Well, guess what? They are ran by your institution that you're in charge of right now. What did the people do? A Gadite chief, a Native American chief, put a headpiece on the Pope and said, we accept your apology. A lot of y'all, Trudeau said, you know what? The Canadian government said, you know what? We'll give you a day. We'll probably give you 2 days out of the year to bring awareness to the natives. That's it. And this destroys your spirit. This makes you think that there is hope. It makes you think you need to stop fighting and start praying more, start begging more, start asking for more. You should never ask nothing from your oppressor. Do you see the gazelle asking for mercy from the cheetah? Do you see the zebra asking for mercy and, you understand, from mercy and, from compassion from the lion? You don't see the prey asking its predator anything. But here's the thing. The only prey that would ever ask its predator for any compassion, right? Any break, anything really, is the nation of Israel. So-called blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians. No one else. Surely oppression maketh the wise man mad. This is how mad you are because of oppression. You understand? Look at what Jacob said, right? Jacob, who is in one of the most racist province in Canada, said they have East Indians selling orange shirts. Let me get that precept real quick, because y'all seem to not understand that everything we go through is biblical. This is another curse that Jacob just brought up. Let me bring it up for you, and I'm gonna close the class with 2 more precepts. Right. Give me 1 second. Let me get Deuteronomy 28:28 and Deuteronomy 28, and bear with me 1 second. But this is these nations who are being, above us, who are put above us. Why? Because the Most High destroyed us for disobeying him. You understand? There you go. Deuteronomy 28:43. What it says: the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. These East Indians are making a profit of a day that is supposed to be dedicated to you. They're selling all these shirts are probably not even orange. These shirts are probably white with orange paint. You understand? And they're making a profit. These shirts cost 5 cents. They import all these shirts from Bangladesh. They'll sell it to you for $10, $15. They'll sell it to you for $20. They're gonna print on the shirt National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. Sell it $20, $25. They barely cost $1 in Bangladesh. They're making money off of you. And these curses only happen to us, the so-called Blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians. You understand? This is what we go through as a nation. So you should see the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation as it's a spit in the face of indigenous people. They're spitting in the face of indigenous people. It's an insult. It's disgusting. Means, you know what? You're worth nothing, but you know what? You're talking so much about it. You're pissing up. It's like, we don't have time to argue with you. So what? Guess what? We'll give you a day. We'll make it a national day. It was only a national statutory holiday as of last year. Meaning they never cared about it. They never did. You understand? Hey, Shalom, says Baraka, Yahweh Shema, Thabashim Yahweh Shai. They never cared about it. Right? Let me get these 2 last precepts. We're going to end the class. We're going to make a part 2 next week. Go back to Ecclesiastes 7:7. Surely your oppression maketh the wise man mad, and a gift destroyed the heart. You're mad thinking, you're crazy to think that you're achieving anything by having this one specific day to bring awareness to the atrocities that befell upon us in the time of the residential school system. That one day, listen, nobody knew about that day. Really, nobody knew about that day. I was gonna say from time. That day was there since last year. Last year, nobody knew about it. This year, nobody knows about it. Tomorrow, people will forget about it. They're already getting ready for Halloween. That day is gone in history. It's gone. It's already erased from their memories. As of tonight, midnight, nobody's gonna think about that anymore. So for you to think that you achieved something, you're gonna get the land back by being recognized one day out of 365 days a year, you didn't achieve anything. That's the gift that destroyed your heart and your spirit, thinking a few more steps in order for us to get the land back. Shit, only in order for us to get clean water in Canada. You're not going to get clean water in this reservation because the oppressor is a goddamn monster. He never gave a damn. If he actually genuinely gave a damn, he would not have colonized you. It's that simple. It's not even rocket science. Let me get this last precept. We're going to do part 2 next week and get deeper into the history of the residential school system, right? Deuteronomy 28:28. The Lord shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart. You're still shocked today that Canada has to bring awareness about what happened to the natives. again, the only difference between Canada and the US is that the US openly and proudly speaks about its history. Slavery in Canada is taboo. Most of y'all did not know that 2/3 of the slaves in Canada were actually natives. Only 1/3 was of Negro descent. Right? The Lord shall smite you in madness. You crazy to think that you're going to achieve anything begging your oppressor or anything. Imagine the zebra again. Imagine any prey asking for his predator peace so we could all live together hand in hand. And, you know, as a matter of fact, I'm going to bring it out next class. But let me make sure so y'all understand, right? Because some of y'all may have kids. If not, some of y'all probably enjoy watching kids' movies. Have y'all ever seen the movie Zootopia, where prey and predator are able to live together hand in hand, right? And the predator eats like substitute food instead of eating the prey and hunting them? Yeah, again, that's delusion. Let me get this last precept. I keep saying last precept. Let me get this last precept, right? That's you believing. That's you being mad, believing that you could actually achieve that. You understand? That's you being mad, thinking that there's a way for you as a prey to live amongst your predators in peace. Why? Because the Lord smote thee with madness and blindness. You can't see that you are prey and that he's a predator. If we were all equal, there would not be anything such as white privilege. Why would there be any privilege? We're supposed to be all equal. Let's get 2 Thessalonians 2:11. And for this cause God shall send them a strong delusion that they should believe a lie. Listen, you're delusional thinking you can live like in the movie Zootopia, where prey and predator live right next to each other and without the predator hunting the prey ever. Why? Because he has a substitute. He eats substitute meats. The predator is vegan now. Guess what? Our oppressor is a bloodthirsty predator. He's never going to be vegan. He's never going to change his diet. And you're on the menu. You understand? Let that sink in. And we'll see you next week for the part 2 of this history class on I.S.U.P.K Canada, on Facebook, I.S.P.K Montreal as well, I.S.U.P.K Toronto, Montreal, and YouTube, and I.S.P.K Toronto on TikTok. With that said, we'll end the class right here. Salake. Shalom, Komaida. Yahweh Tabashim Yahushai. And with that, we'll end the class right here, and we'll see you next week, Israel. Shalom. We'll get a security announcements and end the class right here. This is the I.S.U.P.K security announcements, where the I.S.U.P.K started at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General YAHANNA. Rules from your brother and sister: when a new brother or sister comes into the school, they're off limits for 6 months. They're to be saluted only. They're here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After the 6 months period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers chapter 18, verse 21, and Malachi chapter 3, verse 8 to 10. Means tenth in the Hebrew, ma'ashara. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests, not mandatory, whatsoever amounts you'd like. Upcoming holy convocation. This Wednesday, October 2nd, we have the Feast of Blowing of Trumpets. You can read more about it in Leviticus chapter 23, verse 24 to 25. You understand? And to contact I.S.U.P.K Montreal, if you want for information in our city, as well as I.S.U.P.K Toronto for the gathering in Toronto, right? Through Facebook, WhatsApp, or any social media whatsoever. Reminder Akim and Akwatian to check the bulletin board in the hallway of the school. They have a physical location, and if anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, the star wear all black, boots, shirt, pants, headband, and scarf. With that, they will give a courtesy salute to the brothers and a courtesy salute to the sisters. Menavejo Amajim, which means to stand. We'll give a courtesy salute to the brothers, right? Menavejo Amajim Shabbat, Amajim, Barak, Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai Barakatham, which means Yahweh in the name of Yahushai bless y'all. Yajamata, which means hands down. Sar, which means to turn and face the sisters. We'll give them a courtesy salute as well. Men of Israel, Amajim Shabbat, Amajim, Barak, Yahweh Shamar, Alatan Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. And Yahweh watch over y'all in the name of Yahweh Shai. Yah class dismissed. And we'll see you next week, Israel. Shalom.
Yeah. I want West in I place once more. Yeah, easy. You wanna know where I come from? You wanna know where I come from? I believe. You wanna know where I come from? I don't pan the Middle East, but y'all out the West one get the kid peace. Me step over to pretty Christine. A big broad smile and giggling teeth. Have a brand new 4-5 pretty Christine. Me deal with the chica press pretty pristine. Them say them bad but we no intrigue. If you this now you top 10 killing increase. And we no join both sides. I one West are the best you fi know boy. You put a S on your chest when the chrome pint. Every bone a broke when left lone tribe. Make a force right boy if you know your size. Don't see me on the street and a force fight. You get ratchet knife in your throat pipe. Man who make your chop flesh like your ghost rise. Give up the ghost. Make it both wife. Y'all shut up, bend over, pan to a pint. Fuck you, make you get wet like a boat ride. If you hold tight, y'all, me a hold tight. Alright, no later, then more time. Me have things to do, but got more fight. Look you where the nanny, girl do a bright. Play we shoot the bumbo clad to a grind. That's where me come from. I don't pan the Middle East, but y'all out the West one get the kid piece. Me step over to pretty Christine. A big broad smile and giggling teeth. Have a brand new 4-5 pretty Christine. We deal with the chica press pretty pristine. Them say them bad but we no intrigue. If you this now you talk then yeah, them too bad, I just smoke them off, I just slogan. You coulda big and tough like Hulk Hogan. You get your own a bag, you get total. Send your soul to God, the best no God. The whole fucking clip of your own that. No come set, no chop of your own bat. I go get sent off, we run postal. Get a PO box. She say me handsome, she want hold me cocky at ransom. She want hood fi broke, she want yam some. She say breed me, give me that one son, boy. We have shotgun, we have Remington, we have Magnum. So if a beef you want, you can have some. Anything we come turn in a phantom. How where we come from? I don't pan the Middle East, but y'all out the West one get the kid piece. Me step over to pretty Christine. A big broad smile and giggling teeth. Have a brand new 4-5 pretty Christine. We deal with the chica press pretty pristine. Them say them bad but we no intrigue. If you this now you top 10 killing increase. Increase. You know, yeah, easy. I want what's in I building.